Hi, Rudy.
Hi everyone. Hi Jennifer. I was trying to signal to you that I couldn't say hi and unmute myself.
Hi, Rudy. Thanks so much for the note.
Yeah, no worries. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hi, good evening.
Good to see you, Sophia.
Good to see you.
Hello. Good evening.
Wonderful faces. It's been a while.
Is Alex on? I don't see him on my.
I am. I'm here.
Oh,
Good
there
evening.
you
I
are.
just got
Okay.
on. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone's faces.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, it's been a
Hello.
while.
I know it's been a while.
The last time we all got together was August 11th. So
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's been a minute.
it has been a minute. I'm glad
It's
that.
fall now. At least it's cooler where I am, and I'm very pleased about that.
Nice.
Yeah. I know you
Right.
guys mostly have great weather year round.
It's California.
Yeah.
I love the rain, whatever we can take,
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
just
Amy.
a little. We'll take it all.
Is it raining yet in Red? I'm in Mountain View today. Is it raining yet in Redwood City this evening?
We're raining here. It's
Okay,
great.
it's coming down.
All right, I think we got most folks on and we're at time. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off the meeting. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy that we're back together again. It's been a while. It's like a family reunion. Last time we got together was August 11th. And I'm really happy that we're now entering this new phase in the redistricting process. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in to our virtual advisory redistricting committee meeting. Tonight we have via teleconference our committee members, and that's Brown, Buckmaster, Chaudhry, Covey, Gardner, Gasparini, Hicks, Dumansky, Pena, Selk, and Vice Chair Lacefield, and myself, Committee Chair Espinoza Murray. I also want to welcome city staff and staff from our city's redistricting consultant, redistricting partners. Thanks for being here, who are also joining us via teleconference. We're also offering this this call in Spanish. So I want to invite folks, if they prefer, that they can go ahead and join our ARC meetings through the dial-in conference line. And now I'm going to switch in Spanish and relay the message so we can go over to the next slide. Thank you. Estamos ofreciendo esta llamada de la reunión para redistribución de distrito en español y hay información para que puedan marcar y conectarse a la llamada. Si quieren escuchar la llamada en español, pueden marcar 669-900-6833 y puede ingresar el número de identificación de la reunión, que es 346-830-8566. De nuevo, el número de identificación de la reunión es 346-830-8566. Esa información también está en la pantalla, se pueden seguir y lo pueden ver ahí. Y si le pido una contraseña, el número es 1017. De nuevo, la contraseña es 1017. Para hablar y dar comentario público durante la sección de comentario público, nos pueden notificar, le pueden notificar al intérprete a través de la línea de conferencia al unirse a la reunión, o puede también presionar asterisco 9 para solicitar hablar y el asterisco 6 para activar el sonido. De nuevo, si quiere dar comentario público, puede notificar al intérprete que está en la línea de conferencia al unirse a la reunión o presione asterisco 9 para solicitar hablar y asterisco 6 para activar el sonido. Si quiere ver la reunión en inglés simultáneamente, puede hacerlo. La transmisión está en vivo y puede ir a la página redwoodcity.zoom.us y el número de reunión 987-0748-0568. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to ask our wonderful management analyst, Kimberly Daniel, to do roll call this evening.
Thank you so much, Chair. Member Buckmaster,
Present?
Member Pena,
Present.
Member Covey,
Present.
Member Gardner,
Present.
Member Gasparini,
Present.
Member Brown, Member Chaudhry,
Present.
thank you. Member Hicks Jumansky,
Present.
Member Selk,
Present.
Vice Chair Lacefield,
Present.
and Chair Espinoza Murray.
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and this time I want to open up this meeting for public comment. Instructions for public comment are on the screen. So I ask that you use the raise hand feature if you want to request to speak. If you're calling in, please press *9 or *9 to request to speak. And each speaker will have 3 minutes. I'm going to call the members of the public in the order in which they raise their hand. Once you're finished speaking, I ask that you go ahead and select the lower hand button option. If you don't know where the raise hand option is, click on the bottom of your screen where it says reactions, and then select raise hand, and that'll put you in line to speak. All right, we have one member of the public who wants to speak, Rona Gundram.
Yes, hi, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I have a question. I was playing with the District R mapping tool, and as I was, doing the population balancing, it seems that if I were to take away from one district and give to another, looking at the redistricting map exercise, the city map that has the blocks with the different neighborhoods, it seems then that we would be taking, small census blocks out of these neighborhoods. And I don't know if the objective is to keep these neighborhoods together or if it's okay to take, small census blocks out to make the population's balance better. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and having played with the tool myself, I would say early on, we talked about how we have these neighborhoods that have been historically drafted together. But over time, some of these things may change. So as we hear public comment, we're going to take into account how these neighborhoods, if they should remain together or if they could be split, depending on the way that these historic neighborhoods or how they've been drawn, if they've transformed. So depending on which neighborhoods so there is no answer other than it depends, right, on the specific neighborhoods in which you're drawing over as to whether they should stay together if they're considered a community of interest, or if that's changed over time, that they can be split up into different communities. And if there's anyone that has in the committee that has an opposing view of what I just shared or has some more input that they want to add, please, I would invite you to speak and answer the question.
The only thing that I would add is that the neighborhoods were made prior to any districting of any kind in Redwood City. And the first time we created any districts at all was 2 years ago. And so the neighborhoods are much, much older than that. And so it's just another piece of everything we're looking at.
That's right. Thank you, Committee Member Selk. Yeah, these neighborhoods have been around for about 40 years, if I'm not mistaken. So they proceed for quite a bit what we're looking at now. So
right, and the current district map seems to kind of follow those neighborhood blocks, and like I said, trying to balance out the population a bit, we'd be breaking up some of those historic neighborhood blocks to some degree. That's more in the greater part of Redwood City. I mean, Redwood Shores is one contiguous entity off by itself, and it does have probably a larger population than all the others, a little bit over the ideal. And then, the other issue is bringing the others closer to ideal so that Redwood Shores is not above the 1,200 person mark, because there really is no way to make Redwood Shores smaller.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I appreciate your thoughtfulness and that you're taking into account, these neighborhoods, historic neighborhoods. I would say that, as these neighborhoods have changed and as density has changed, it will impact those numbers. And sometimes we may, as I don't want to speak for what we're deciding, but we may have to split up some of those neighborhoods that have been around for 40 years, have been drawn out that way, but that may have changed over time. So I would say that there are also other variables that we can include in consideration, and that may lead for us to split some neighborhoods, but not others. And it would depend on which neighborhood specifically. Finding that number balance is part of the challenge, right? Is how do we make all these districts fairly even in numbers? And that's part of our challenge as the ARC, as this committee. That's part of our task. So if you figure it out, you let us know. You submit that map. We'd love to see it. But thanks, Ron. I appreciate your comments and your questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak, make a comment, or have a question? All right. Seeing none, now concluding the public comment portion of the agenda. And if you didn't have a chance to give public comment live, I also want to invite you to send an email in at districtelections@redwoodcity.org, and your comments will be received by the full committee and will be included as part of the record. So if maybe you're shy and you don't feel comfortable speaking up, or you don't have the opportunity to give public comment at the moment, please make sure that please send them via email at districtelections@redwoodcity.org. Again, they're going to be seen by the full committee and will be included as part of the public record as we go through this process.
Paris, Espinoza Murray, it's Alex Kojukin. I saw someone's hand go up. I don't know if anyone else saw that, but now it's back down. I don't know if someone else had public comment.
I didn't see that, but if
Okay.
there is one,
there you go.
There is a
Someone
clap.
did that.
Yes.
Someone did the hand clap emoji.
Oh,
it's
is
not
what
the
you
hand
were
up.
probably seeing.
So if Jimmy wants to speak and the hand clap emoji means you have a comment, I invite you to speak now, Jimmy. If not, that's okay too. If you're just giving us some claps, we'll take those too.
Yes, I sent in a map. I was actually surprised at the few number of maps that have been submitted. But I'll send in the logic behind my selection. But basically what I did was I added Edgewood Park to District 2. And I took away downtown from District 2. And the reason for that is there's a downtown improvement district, a downtown improvement association, a downtown, neighborhood association, and there's a downtown business group. And having them in the district or the neighborhoods that I propose says we would have no representation at any time. Presently, all concentration is what's going on downtown. But anyhow, that is the logic I use behind doing that. Edgewood Park's got Cordilleras Creek as a boundary, so does Centennial. We have Highway 101, and we have Brewster Avenue. So we got a nice district, and if I remember right, it came out to 12,000 and some people. So I hope that gets considered in these meetings. Thank you.
Yeah, Jimmy, thank you for your comment, and we will definitely consider your comments and also the map that you submitted as part of your public comment as we, as a committee, decide what we're going to present. So I appreciate your comments and submitting that. Thank you. All right, is there anyone else?
I'm through.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Anyone else wants to give public comment? If not, all right, I'll move on to the next item, which is the approval of the August 11th meeting minutes. As I said earlier, it's been a while since we all got together. And it's been a while since that last meeting, since August 11th. So I'd love to see, is there a motion to approve the minutes or any comments or corrections that may be offered as part of
Danny
that?
Gasparini, motion to approve.
Ella
Thank you.
Litchfield, second.
Thank you. The two of you has been moved and properly seconded. We'll now proceed to roll call vote. Kimberly, if you help me out there, please.
Thank you, Chair. Member Buckmaster,
Approve.
Member Pena,
Aye.
Member Cubby,
Yes.
Member Gardner,
Yes.
Member Gasparini,
Yes.
Member Chaudhry.
Yes.
Member Hicks Dumansky,
Yes.
Member Selk,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lacefield,
Aye.
and Chair Espinoza Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Now moving to the next item of business, the overview of community of interest testimony and community outreach recap. So at this point, I want to ask Sofia Garcia, who's the Outreach and GIS Director with our city's redistricting consultant, redistricting partners. Sophia is going to review the community of interest testimony that we've received thus far. And she's also going to review the current city council districts with the new Census 2020 data, including citizen voting age population, which we were missing before. She's also going to give a demonstration of how to draw new city council district maps based on this new Census 2020 data using both online mapping software and paper maps. After Sophia's presentation, we're going to hear from Assistant City Manager Alex Kojikian, and he's going to recap the city's ongoing outreach efforts. So I hand it over to you, Sophia.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to see everyone. I can't believe it's been so long. Though I do know we've seen a bunch of you at our outreach meetings. So I'm going to share my screen. Are you all able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Chair, for that breakdown of the process. Alex is actually going to give that a kind of overview process before I give the districtor demo. So that'll happen as a part of this presentation, and I'll hand it off to him at the end of it. So we've got quite a bit to get through, and we'll get started. So the process that we've gone through has followed. Oh, and everyone, yes, welcome. My name is Sofia Garcia, GIS and Outreach Director. Again, a lot of our repeats on this call, but welcome for members of the public. So this evening, we have a lot to get through, and we're going to start with just an overview of the process and what we follow here when we're looking at the redistricting process for Redwood City. So for the redistricting process, we are following the Fair Maps Act, which is a new California law. You can look it up. The other name for it is called AB 849. And Redwood City has used it and is required under that law to hold at least 4 hearings under the Fair Maps Act, 1 to 2 pre-map hearings to collect communities of interest testimony, and 2 map hearings after we have the maps to discuss proposed maps. And the second hearing can also be the final one if there have been no changes made to the maps presented. An optional final hearing, we can have that as the 5th one to pass as the final map. So we've done more than 2 hearings to collect communities of interest testimony, and we have that slide where we discuss it. Redwood City held 8 community workshops resulting in communities of interest input and map submissions on the districtor.org website. So we'll show you all those submissions in the following slides. And we'll have 3 more public hearings during the draft map process and the final adoption. So we've done a lot of work, and we still got some stuff we're going to move forward with. So this is that wonderful graphic that the staff at Redwood City has created. It's up on the website. So we've moved out of phase 2, which is our community workshop by districts, where we started in August and ended earlier this month on October 9th. All of those hearings are up on the website. We did the same presentation throughout for consistency, so that if a member of the public, it was their first time attending one of those hearings, they got the same information. And we did districtor demos. And on the final one, we did a districtor demonstration based on the districts. And we also sent in a recording for folks who can learn how to use the districtor tool to draw their districts. And we'll also go through that this evening, because it was just updated a couple of weeks ago. So we didn't have that for that whole process. Right now in phase 3, we're going to start talking about all of the communities of interest that we've heard throughout the process, whether it was verbal, whatever was sent in, and also go through all of the communities of interest maps on Districtor and also the draft maps that we've received. And this is a space for the ARC to look at that, absorb it, have discussion, and then give us direction at Redistricting Partners to start drafting our maps. For the end of this phase, the ARC will have a map recommendation, and then we'll move into phase 4 for the City Council. So this phase is really focused on the ARC, the committee, and how they're going to look at all of the communities of interest that we've received and discuss what we've heard throughout this entire process. The traditional redistricting principles are our guiding principles when we are looking at creating draft maps. These are also principles that are under the Fair Maps Act. They're a ranked criteria order. And so we'll go through those again as just a reminder of what we have to keep in mind when we're looking at draft maps. We know communities of interest is a really big piece of this process, but we have to look at the other criteria as we are looking for draft maps and moving forward with this discussion. So the number one criteria, and again, the reason why we started this process late, we got the data late, was that first criteria of creating districts of relatively equal size. And when we talk about that again, we're discussing census data. And it's just a reminder to the public, to staff, and to our ARC here, when we're talking about census data, we're also simultaneously talking about census geography. And the geography that we're going to talk a lot about, and which we've already heard discussed a bit from the person who gave a public comment earlier, is census blocks. So census blocks are the smallest unit of geography that we receive from the Census Bureau, and it's a best practice to not split those census blocks, again, based on that number one criteria of creating districts based out of census data. And again, we receive the census data at that smallest unit of geography. So it's just something to keep in mind as we're going to look at the maps later on in the presentation. The second one is to create districts that are contiguous so that they look geographically like they're touching one another, unless there is a county island. And we do have 2 county islands here in Redwood City to the south. And so other than those 2, all the rest of the districts must maintain and be contiguous. Maintaining communities of interest, of course, we're all really familiar with that concept now, listening to the community, listening to our ARC members, and hearing what beyond the data are other things to consider. Neighborhoods are something that has been discussed a lot, and also particular areas of the city. And we'll again look at those in the next couple of slides. We also had on Districtor, and what was discussed was school district boundaries, and looking at other kind of government distinct lines is something that was considered, and keep districts compact. And again, this could be an appearance and function versus how they look. But again, on this one, just because the district has a funny shape doesn't necessarily mean it's been gerrymandered, because again, it is lower on our criteria. And so if we can create a district that looks great or pretty, that'll be nice. But again, if it is, if you're kind of looking and talking about maybe splitting a neighborhood or splitting a community of interest, that has a higher ranking criteria than keeping a district compact. So for some tools that the community used for map creation, we had these placemats available. And so this is the community of interest placemat that folks have been able to use and see They are available at all the libraries, and it's also available online on the website. And so again, at the end of the presentation, we'll go through your website, which I love. The Redwood City redistricting website is so user-friendly, really easy to use. All of the things are clearly marked. So big kudos to your staff for continuing to update that and make it a very user-friendly website. So the following couple of slides will be screenshots of what we've received from Districtor so far. And all of the maps have a unique specific ID. So the public is not mandated to name their map. However, all maps that are submitted have a specific unique ID. And any additional information from a community of interest submission will be here as well. So we have this community of interest submission that just has Farm Hill, and the map ID we see above. We got another community of interest submission that is just called community of interest submitted as a district map. And we can just see kind of the street boundaries. Here it says Alameda de las Pulgas, and also bordered by Farm Hill Boulevard. And I can't see that top one. We have a map submission as well that I think they use the community or they named it and used the district-based tool. So this one is called Rcsd Zones. So the blue one is neighborhood school attendance areas. The yellow is Roy Cloud area. Teal we see as Clifford area. Green, Roosevelt area. Pink, Henry Ford. Purple, Hoover area, and light blue, Taft area. As a kind of just a reminder to the public and some information for the ARC. For the community of interest, when you're drawing a community of interest map on Districtor, you have the ability to submit additional information, type in info, write a paragraph if you'd like. When you're submitting a district map in Districtor, you don't have that option in there. So just as a reminder to the public, if you'd like to give ARC some additional information on the map that you submitted, you can reference the name of the map or the ID when you're giving your public comment or sending an email. So just if we don't have additional information on district-based plans, that's why, because they don't have the ability to submit more information or write in it right on the mapping tool. Another community of interest submission that we received from Jimmy Hedges as suggestion 2. This might be the person that just called in. The population for this district is 12,312, and the deviation for this particular one we have as 2.09. This area skirts around the Red Shores area, takes in this population kind of to the left of it, and then goes down kind of close to downtown. So this is another option we have. This is another community of interest map submission labeled as District 3 elections, and I'll read through what they wrote here. So dense community housing, senior housing, low income housing, middle class homeownership, condo housing, high immigrant population, single households, housing for mentally ill, housing for developmentally disabled, supportive services, wings, autism, school K through 12, Christian K through 8, Hoover Middle School, Hoover Pediatric Clinic, Taft Elementary School, Family Centers, Boys and Girls Club, PAL program, Summit Preparatory Charter High School, Satellite Stanford Clinics, and supportive social service programs. A community with new 3 major projects supporting modern housing units with retail space on the ground floor. Prior projects also include the Franklin project. So that might be what is in this particular district that they drew, and they gave you a really long list of what's in that community. So a lot of information there. This one is near Redwood Junction. This boundary here is Maple Street. You also have the city boundary here on the edge. And I believe this long southern boundary is Bay Road. Another map community of interest submission is labeled as Edgewood Park. And the description that they gave here is single family homes with larger lots in the neighborhood. So we do see part of Eaton Avenue. This boundary is Whipple Avenue, also by the Redwood City boundary. And this looks like a little park up here as well. And the southern boundary is Alameda de las Pulgas as well. So that's the map submission that we've received from Districtor. The public is able to look at the link. So you are able to bring that up right now if you'd like to look at it. All of those have been publicly submitted. The additional testimony that we received from the workshops are as followed. And so we just kind of summarize what some folks had said during those workshops. We took notes and went back. So some of the additional testimony we received said Fernside should not be a dividing line. Alameda should be a boundary between communities. Stolsat Park and Farm Hill should be in the same district. Keep Stambaugh and Heller neighborhood together. Keep the three neighborhoods around Red Morton Park together. Maintain Redwood Shores as one district. Consider the police beat when drawing district lines. Keep Edgewood Park, Canyon, Eagle Hill, Centennial, Downtown, Stambaugh, Heller, Central, Roosevelt, and parts of Farm Hill in the same district. So that's some additional testimony that we received. Again, we distilled it down to just some bullet points of the conversations we had during our outreach workshops. So we're going to next review the current districts, and the way that we will outline the current districts and also any additional maps, draft maps that we will discuss will be in what we call these packets. So the packets include 3 different ways to view the districts. One will be this overview page. The second one will look at data tables, which will show the breakdown of the 2020 census data by district. And then we have the breakdown of data based on the citizen voting age population. You may also hear it called CVAP during this process, but the citizen voting age population. And then we have pages for each individual district showing, again, the specific data and also kind of where on the map this district is. So this is the overview page of the existing lines. So what we currently have for Redwood City, so we can see all the 7 districts here. We have the data table for the 2020 census population and the citizen voting age population. So the 2 things that we have highlighted here, that's the line with the district plan deviation. And again, the total plan deviation that is allowable for Redwood City is 10%. So using the current district lines and looking at the updated 2020 census data, we're way out of that 10% with a total plan deviation of 52.1%. So when we look at getting the total plan deviation, we're looking at the district that is least populated against the district that is the most populated. So you can have a district in a new plan that, let's say, is positive 6%. And so you can have a negative deviation of -4 to have that 10% deviation. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can have 10% over and 10% under. It means your total plan deviation has to be that 10%. So again, we're well over that looking at our current data. An additional number to look at specifically for the citizen voting age population is currently we do have a majority minority Latino population district here in District 3. And again, when we are looking to create a Voting Rights Act district using the citizen voting age population data, we'll work with your legal counsel to look if that is something that we'll need to create this time around. And again, for that, we'll look in the area of District 3 to look at what that population is. And again, just as a reminder, when we're creating a Voting Rights Act Section 2 majority minority district, that means that you have to create a district that is 50% plus of a specific group. And again, this just shows that currently you have one that is Latino CVAP at 55.2. But again, we'll discuss with your attorney for any draft maps that will be, that'll look at this majority minority district. So these are the breakdown. And again, all the draft maps that we'll be discussing will have this same breakdown packet for you. So you'll be able to look at them. And we also have, can create a web link so you guys can zoom in a little bit further to look at the specific streets. But they'll have the breakdown of the 2020 census and CVAP data on percentages. And on the bottom left, you have that breakdown on the population, a deviation of your district there as well. At the bottom right, we can see the whole overview of your district, but we highlight where this specific district is in the whole city. And so all of the districts will look the same. And these are just helpful for looking at a particular district. And again, where maybe you want to make some changes or what things are themes that are coming up in the district maps. But again, District 2, it is our most populated district. And then District 3 we have as our least populated district based on that 2020 census data. District 4 as well with the, again, just the same information of population and the breakdown for the existing lines. District 5 as well. We have our District 6 and then finally our District 7. So next, we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to move from the community of interest input that we've heard, that we showed you this evening, and the discussions that we'll have tonight to how we're going to get those draft maps and discussion. So with redistricting partners, we need feedback from the committee on potential draft plan versions. And again, we were in attendance at all of the community meetings and heard feedback from the public. And now in this new phase of phase 3, it's time to hear any feedback from you as committee members. So all plans, again, that we submit will follow the required criteria. We're thinking of that redistricting best practices page of those criteria that we've outlined, and always remind folks. And again, when we're looking at draft maps, this is the time where we're going to look at data. So we'll work with your attorney to look at any potential Section 2 Voting Rights Act districts, look at compactness, contiguity, equal population, communities of interest, any themes that we hear from, again, the public and from you as a committee on these potential versions. The way that we'll show you any public plans will be really similar to, will be exactly actually what we just showed you for the packet overview. So, and again, it'll have the overview page, the data tables, and individual packets. As well, we'll also have a summary document with all provided plans and overview. So it'll be this Word document that shows you a small picture of the map. It'll give you a description of it. And then on the right-hand side, it'll, in a one-page, give you information on that specific map, any notes. If it's of interest, we can give you the number of neighborhood splits that are in a specific plan if the committee would like to see that, and also the date submitted. So this will be in addition to the PowerPoint, a kind of in that packet so that you all are ready to give feedback and look at them when you're making comments for draft maps. All draft maps that we have will be placed on that wonderful redistricting website for public feedback as well. We can receive written input on it, public comments, and also potential map changes in the districtor tool. So as we transition to the abstract of asking the public to give us community of interest maps to the draft map phase, We do generally see more input from the community once there is something in front of them to make comments on, to ask the ARC to change. And so we may see kind of an uptick of feedback and participation from the public. And that's something that we generally expect throughout the process. And any future hearings will allow for changes to these draft maps prior to adoption. So they are draft maps. They are not the final map. They're not set in stone. They are here to be a discussion point, to kind of look at if there is a specific district that you really like as an ARC, or if there's specific themes that you see, or you can completely let us know and the public know. One is an absolutely no, that's horrible. Let's work together to work on something else. A selection on a final proposed draft map with any changes, and then an up or down vote on a single plan. That's what we'll need by April 17th, 2020. So that's some just information and background on what we'll do moving forward, going into this next phase. So I'm going to pass it on to Alex, who's going to talk about kind of how folks can participate and what we've kind of done thus far on the process. So Alex, and you can just let me, oh yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, Sophia, but before you speak, I just want to thank Sophia for giving us this detailed presentation and going over all the, I know it's a lot of information. It's pretty fresh. So having, you having done this very quickly, the turnaround was very fast. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the ARC committee, that we're grateful for all the work that you're doing. So yeah, blessings to you for all the work that you've done.
It's a team effort. Yeah, it's a team effort, and also like those claps need to be given to your staff as well, and all the members who attended these public meetings. And I think all of you guys have just been so willing to participate in this process and help and adjust as things kind of come up. So just kudos to everyone. Yeah, I'm just the face, but we have a huge team behind us.
I know, and but I hate thank you to you, because you're the one, you're the one presenting this work, and we know there's stuff happening behind the scenes, and we're grateful for everyone, the staff who's been on point this entire process, the members of this committee who have shown up multiple times on the weekends and evenings to discuss with the community, and some folks that have been tabling and reaching out to those communities and community organizations to partake in this process. So it's been a huge effort on behalf of so many different groups. I just want to say thank you before we pass it on to Alex. So Alex, it's all yours. And thank you, Alex.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Alex is also a rock star.
I echo the same sentiment as the chair, and it takes a team effort, just like what Sophia says. And so there's handful of staff members actually on this initiative, and couldn't do it without the city attorney's office, our city clerk's office, city manager's office, and then our consultant redistricting partners too at the same time, and all of you, which has been exciting just throughout this process, really with your guys's efforts to engage and provide outreach to our community. And I guess that's a good segue into what I'll be covering here, just about participating in your way. And so, as Sophia mentioned this evening, is that this is a critical point where we're really pivoting from where we were going with community of interest testimony. And for the public, it's great to see public members on this meeting today. We still will take community of interest testimony throughout this process. If anyone wants to provide testimony, public comment, more than merrier. We'd love that. And all that will be presented to this advisory redistricting committee as you go through your process over today's meeting, the next two meetings, and also to the city council as they have their meetings regarding trying to get to a final map for district elections here in Redwood City. And with that said, we have a critical juncture here of trying to engage and communicate and get outreach to our community just about this districting process at this point, where you can start drawing districts, not only just providing community of interest testimony. And so what we have, and Sophia will be providing more information, we have the district R mapping software that people will be able to use. And also, we're actually providing support. So if there's any technical support that residents might need at our library, 7 days a week, our library is staffed up. And so they've now been trained. Many thanks to Sophia. She has trained the trainers. And so it's great. Also at City Hall as well. And so that also segues into paper maps. So those who might not want to play around with the software, you can always go through the paper map. And Sophia will be demonstrating that as well today. And that's available at all our city facilities, community centers, all the libraries throughout the city. So geographically, if you're in Redwood Shores, you can go pick it up at the library and you can turn in your maps either by taking a picture and emailing districtelections@redwoodcity.org, or you can drop them off at a city facility, and city staff are trained to take a picture and make sure they send it to staff so that we record it and hold on to it and return it back to City Hall for us. And so we will have the in-person drop off hours and training. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so with that, we have a lot of outreach and engagement with different stakeholder groups. This is just a handful of who we've engaged. There's still many more than what is on this list. I just quickly was throwing on a list. I could keep going with probably a big old word cloud, just with all the different groups that we're engaging, but we want to continue to engage throughout this process. And so with that, I know that in an email I sent previously, we were looking at a vaccine clinic to go out and engage this Friday, but due to rain, that has been canceled for October 22nd. But the Kiwanis Farmers Market invited us. They're going to have a big Halloween event with inviting kids, families, individuals, and coming down to the farmers market. And so we'll be having a booth there from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for about a 2-hour span. The Kiwanis said you can have that booth there, and they'll provide all the chairs and the tables. I'm really excited to have Margarita Cuevas, who has really helped us. She's city staff, actually, who's bilingual and has helped engage our Latino community. And so she'll be part of our team. So we've incorporated, Margarita's on this call today, actually. She should be there. She's not on the photo, but her name's there. And so she'll be helping us out with a lot of our outreach and engagement to our Latino community here over the next month or so. So I'm excited to bring Margarita on board to help us out. And then her team members, there's a lot of volunteers as well who will be assisting her. And so really excited about that. And so as we do these engagements, you'll get to meet Margarita, who will be helping out. And I'm glad that she's here this evening. So if you as ambassadors, please spread the word, not only to the committee members, but also to the public who are on this call. Please share it with your friends and family out to your community. If you have networks, email lists, please spread the word. We have a wonderful district elections webpage. We've been also, you might have seen the advisory redistricting committee. I really blasted off emails and actually ways you can just cut and paste and send to your groups to make it really easy to invite people to participate in our process. Because the more people we get involved, the better outcomes we can get so that more voices are heard throughout this process. So that kind of concludes my spiel, but I ask you all to just get involved, continue the outreach. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me directly or to our city clerk's office at City Hall, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So just as a reminder, we have the 2 ways that you are able to submit a map. Again, you're welcome to join us during any of these meetings or send in an email. But if you'd like to submit a map, you can do that at districtor.org/tag/Redwood City, or using this placemat that shows the 2020 data. So I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint, and then I'm going to move over to the website so that people can know how to navigate to those 2 places to draw a map. So let me move over and share my screen again. Okay. Do you folks see my screen, or just the map, or just the website? Okay, I see a nod. Okay, great. So just as a reminder to the public of kind of where you can get those 2 links. And also the video that I was talking about, there's a video here on how to use or on the redistricting process. So that's new, that I haven't seen that yet. They have that wonderful place up here. So this is one place that you can click to draw the districtor. It'll take you directly to that link. And then the paper maps, I think there's a section down here in submit a map. Here's also the link to the districtor tool, and then the version of the placemat. So let me click on this one, see if it's updated. Okay, wonderful. So as Alex mentioned, this map is available. I think it's loading. Let me refresh it. Oh, maybe the other link will work. We'll go back. Let's see on here. Let's try this one. Okay, that's better. Okay, great. So we have, we'll get rid of that one. So this is the what we call placemat. It is a large map that looks really similar to the community of interest map. But this time we looked at some of the census blocks that are in Redwood City, and we rounded out the number. And you kind of have information and what we call rules at the bottom here. So it says to create a single city council district, or you can create a full 7-district plan. The new districts should have around a total population of 12,100 people. And also, if you're looking at creating districts that are a little bit above that or below, the largest district should be no more than 12,000 people greater than the smallest district. And each of these blocks is drawn within the city's existing neighborhoods. The numbers are rounded based on the final census data and adjusted by the state. So you can take a marker, pencil, whatever, you're gonna wanna bring a calculator with you, and you can add up to create one district, a partial plan, so under 7 districts or up to 7 districts. And this is a non-tech way for you to draw a district and submit it to the ARC. And again, you can pick these up if you would like a paper copy already printed at all of the libraries, or you can print it out here directly from the website. If you have and you've created a map and you take it home, the ARC won't be able to see it. So, and we want to see your map. So if you are submitting a map, you can hand it in to staff. And I believe, Alex, can you remind us if they can hand it back to the library, or who would be the best person to hand it in person if they don't want to send in
They can hand it to a librarian at any of our libraries. They can also take it into City Hall Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 10 to 4, and city staff can take it from there. And it'll all go back to the city clerk's office, all these maps.
Okay.
And I'll upload them. Basically, the paper net, I won't steal your thunder here, Sophia, because I know we'll take
go ahead.
software.
So those are places that you can drop it off in person, but if you don't have to do that if you'd like to keep your map. They're really cool. I have a bunch here at my office, but please, you got to send us in a photo, and you can send that in by emailing to districtelections@Redwood City, or you can mail it in if you want to the website or the specific address below, or drop it off. But again, we need to see a copy of it, and the city will be the ones who will house all of the paper copies. Again, under the Fair Maps Act, they have to have stuff for 10 years. And we at Redistricting Partners just want a photo or something scanned in so that we can have that be what we look at when we're looking at draft maps. So this is the paper option. And again, you can get it on the website, or get one that's already printed at all the libraries. So this is what we call the placemat.
And Sophia,
yes.
I guess I was going into this piece was just with the placemat is once the public draws the map, your demographer will take that and put it into the software, right? To run all the numbers so that it then gets put up online with the rest of the digital maps, correct?
So we will take it and we will draw the map in our internal software that we use called Maptitude. But it isn't our intent to draw them and put them up on Districtor, but we will create packets of all of the placemats that are by districts for the ARC. So we won't be drawing them on Districtor, but you will have packets and also that web map available to you when folks submit a placemat. Is it? Right.
And that'll be included in the packets at the next meeting, and then also as we go through the whole process. Okay.
Yes. And I can't see everyone, but I think I saw a hand raised. So too, if folks can, I think right now, like unmute themselves or or I don't know, Chair, if you want to take questions now.
Yeah, so it's a member of the public. We
Oh,
don't
okay,
have-
okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, sorry, Jimmy, it's not public comment section. If you have any questions, I asked that you send an email to districtelections@redwoodcity.org so the team can help you. So Jimmy, if you catch this, districtelections@redwoodcity.org, send your question in. So to other members of the public comment is closed. So only members of the committee and staff and our consultants can speak at this moment. So committee member Gasparini.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. So the map that we're looking at right now, I believe all the different colors represent the current precincts and how they're divided in Redwood City by population, and that those different colors constitutes a precinct, a voting precinct. Is that correct?
No, we looked at the census blocks and we also looked at neighborhood boundaries when we were kind of making these clusters of areas. So if we were to give you a map, and we'll show you in Districtor that just had all of the census blocks on this paper map, you wouldn't be able to see any of the numbers. So we looked at the existing neighborhood boundaries and we created all of these areas within those existing neighborhoods. So this, if folks would like to split a specific area here, you can do that. But again, we won't know the kind of specific data. So that's why when we receive a placemat, we'll draw it, hand draw it and put it in the internal Maptitude software. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess I'm wondering, because regardless of district elections, our city is divided into precincts and how we tabulate votes. And so does that no longer matter? We don't tabulate votes by precincts anymore, or we don't, how did you come up with over on the furthest right side, it's in purple and it says 1300. How did you decide that you were going to make that 1300?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just a point of clarification, when we're talking about the redistricting process, we're only talking about census geography. We don't look at precinct boundaries because those are subject to change throughout the decade. So when we're drawing district lines, we only look at census geography, and it's a hierarchy where we start at census blocks, the smallest unit of geography, then it goes up to census block groups and then census tracts. So that will always be the base when we're drawing districts. For the placemats, whenever we draw these for cities, we look at kind of major streets or highways, and we try to draw them within, if you have a neighborhood boundary, which the city of Redwood City did. So we took the neighborhood boundary and then we looked at the kind of major streets and tried to round up to try to have 500 people in a specific area, and up to, I think our largest one up there in Redwood Shore is 4,700. So we, not being from Redwood City, just kind of looked at the neighborhood boundaries and then street names and then kind of divided them up so that it would be easier for the public to take a calculator and round it up. But again, I think this kind of points out that on the placemat, if you would like to split some of these areas, you're welcome to do so. But in Districtor, it is based on census blocks and it will not allow you to split a census block on Districtor, but on a placemat, we can't stop a member from splitting any of these areas.
And then my last question is under the text, and I could be just not seeing it well on the screen when it talks about the blocks. It says each of the blocks, and you've just identified how they got broken up into 800 or 700 or 1100. But then it says that it's using existing neighborhoods. I can't see on this map, like the shading of a current neighborhood? Or is that, I'm mixing two things. It's not really telling us what those census blocks are within a neighborhood association or a neighborhood group.
Correct. We didn't leave the name of the neighborhood on this map, but we used the boundary of the neighborhood when we were splitting up these areas. So it was just
And
kind
does
of,
it show, I can't see it on my map on this screen, but does it show better for the regular placemat? Maybe it's just because this is on my screen versus a real placemat.
does it show? I don't know.
So Danny, what it does basically, because as I'm looking at it, it's basically the lines. So if you know the neighborhood associations where the lines are, where these blocks are, they're pretty close to the lines of how neighborhood boundaries are within the city. It's not very clear. You can't see by neighborhoods, but if you clustered them together, I live in that neighborhood association map all the time, so I can see it. I can see it myself. But to the average person, you probably can't see it.
And I believe, Alex, wherever these, oh, actually, I'm not sure. If the public can look at the community of interest placemat, which has the neighborhoods on there. I don't know what, if those are both available, but I think we put that information at the bottom to let you know how we got these breakdowns. And why they kind of are where they are.
So like Danny, you can see Centennial. If you look right towards the 101, if you combine 1300 and 1900, you're pretty much getting into the Centennial neighborhood. If you look towards that northern part of the city, it's the purple and the peach. You see that?
You see?
And then
I do. It's just, I think the testimony that we heard most, or at least almost at every district meeting, was somebody that night testified about keeping their neighborhood whole. And so if you were to look at this particular map, I don't think I really know where District 4 is. So I'm just wondering if there is something that can be highlighted so that people can have a clearer picture. And maybe we don't want to have any influence at all about current neighborhood associations, because we don't want to be bound by that. But I think it is a piece of testimony we heard a lot. So I think it'd be important to be able to see some of the overlays.
which you can do with District R. So that's the whole thing. If someone's having, a tough time, they can always go to the library and staff can show them exactly lay it over if you really want to get into the details.
Thank you, committee member Gasparini. And I have a follow-up question to one of the things you were talking about, precinct. So it sounds like precincts are in function of this process. So they are readjusted once this process is over. Is that correct?
That will happen with your county registrar office, may look at the final data and may adjust them, but because they are subject to a lot of adjustment throughout the decade, we don't use that as a base. We just look at the census blocks. And then if your registrar would like to adjust them based on the new districts, that's something that they can work with.
Yeah, because I was understanding committee members Gasparini's concern is if you have the split precincts, and it's weird because usually a district is tagged by X number of X precincts, that are exact. There is no splitting of the precincts, so it'd be weird. So I was thinking in my head, I was so that means that they have to all be readjusted after we're done. Otherwise, we're gonna have a big mix up. But
yeah,
sounds like there is a process for that.
And we don't look at voting data here, or again, partisanship. We look at the citizen voting age population, which people may confuse with voting data, but that is the data set that is everyone 18 and older. But beyond the total population and the CVAP data, and then any testimony that we receive, we don't look at the voting data or use precincts as.
Oh, Yeah, I'm clear on that. Thanks, Sophia. It was more about
course.
precincts and those being set and how they would be modified. The chair recognizes Vice Chair Lacefield.
Thank you. This may be not the right place to ask this question because it's about districtor really, but I didn't see a place in districtor to see this information. In districtor, you could see the old districts, but I didn't see the neighborhoods. Did I just miss that as a button or?
Yes, I can show you where that is. So we do have the neighborhoods as a button in Districtor, and I will review that with you. And if it's not up there, then we will talk with Districtor to get it up. But the last time I checked, there was a button there.
Yeah, I probably just missed it. Thanks.
Yeah,
And Vice Chair, this is the perfect place to ask questions about district cards since we have our consultants here. So thank you. That's a really good question. Committee member Covey.
Yeah. Just for a point of clarification, since California is now on a mandate of voting by mail universally, do precincts should we even be considering precincts into the concept? Because the purpose of precincts is to know where you're supposed to go vote. And if you're putting your ballot in the mail, then you're not going to a precinct house.
So again, member Covey, we won't be using precincts as a base when we're creating district maps. We are just going to look at the testimony we've received and census data. So and again, because they change a lot throughout the decade and aren't a base for that number one criteria of creating districts of equal population. They serve a different function than what we're looking at.
That clears it up. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Committee Member Covey, for the question. Are there any other questions from any other member? All right, I guess we'll move on. Sophia, are you going to do a district hour? All right. There we go.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll go back to the website, and now there are sort of two places where you can find the districtor specific link. Here up at the top of what's new. So this is new. I haven't seen this update. So again, your staff is really quick with updating. So you can click on it here of districtor mapping tool, or again, go down to the section to submit a draft map. So we're going to click on this button, districtor mapping tool. So for ARC members and members of the public, a districtor is an online mapping software out of Tufts University. And we've really started utilizing online mapping tools during this cycle of the redistricting process. Again, a lot of folks are meeting virtually. For Redwood City, all of our meetings have been virtual. So it is a really wonderful tool for folks to use and get a part of the process. It's also a tool that a lot of jurisdictions across the state and across the country are using. So it's really important for members of the public who would like to submit a districtor map to utilize this specific link for Redwood City, because again, we want the ARC to see your maps. We want to be able to see that as public testimony. So please use this link here. On the homepage, you have some background information of the process. You also have the link to take us back to the Redwood City redistricting website. You have two ways where you can start drawing your map, but right now we really would love to focus folks on drawing district boundaries. The section of the public gallery. So I see we have some new maps that were just submitted today and last night. So this is really wonderful to see. So we'll have them updated when we meet next. So all of the maps that are submitted will appear in the public gallery. And as soon as you save your map, it will automatically populate to this public gallery here. And again, as earlier I was mentioning, you have the opportunity to name your map, but every map will have a unique ID, and we will be mostly referencing maps based on their unique ID as we move forward. If we have additional maps, which I believe we do, this is really great. You can click on the load more button and then we'll see more maps in that area. Any maps that are submitted as a draft map will appear here in the work in progress section. And we do see that we have some draft maps submitted in this section. So we'll update the PowerPoint and what we do next with all these new submissions. The last section is just some about phase about the data that we're using and about us at Redistricting Partners. Another thing to note for members of the public is maps that are submitted on Districtor will be counted as public testimony for the City of Redwood City redistricting process. And we will be taking them down, making those packets for the process. We don't have the ability to take down or delete a map on the Districtor site. So it's really important if you want to save it as a draft, you can save it in that section, or there's a way you can copy your URL. You also can submit multiple maps. You don't have to, you're not barred to just submit one map. You have the opportunity to submit multiple. But again, just so you know, we are taking this as public testimony that will be up on the website, the Redistricting Redwood City website for 10 years.
Sophia, I want to interrupt you for a second. I want to recognize Committee Member Selk, who has a question.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask if all of the maps are anonymous, or are there ways to ask questions of the people who made them to find out more about them, if there's a community of interest testimony we've missed, or anything like that, or if they stay anonymous? Thank you.
That's a really wonderful question. Because this website is public and you don't need a login, they are anonymous unless someone specifically puts their name on a map. So again, the best way for a member of the public to give us additional information specifically on a district-based map is to come forward and give public testimony during one of these meetings, or send in an email, because it is, all of them are anonymous maps. We only see the ID that is assigned to them and the a label that they assign to them, but wonderful question. So we can maybe shout out and ask if the owner of these maps are on these calls, but that we just kind of see what they submitted. But yeah, that's a really great question. So I think I'll move forward to showing the demo. Chair, are there any additional questions?
It seems like none. Go ahead.
Okay,
thank you.
Wonderful. So to start drawing a district, you're going to click on this purple button that says Redwood City 7 council districts built out of 2020 blocks. And so it will take you directly to the map where you will see an outline of the city of Redwood City. We also see a couple of things to note here. These grayed out areas are unincorporated areas in Redwood City. So we won't be counting them as part of the process. Those are pieces and areas that the county will have as a part of their redistricting process. The grayed areas, small geographies, are those census blocks. So those will be what will be bounded by, and the way that we'll be able to draw maps here in Districtor. On the top left, you're able to zoom in, you can zoom out, and then you can orient your map pointing north. So that's the top left. But really, the most of the work you're going to be doing in this tool will be here on the right side. And every time you open Districtor, you will automatically be on the pan tool, which is the tool that will allow you to move your map around and will allow you to zoom in and zoom out. And again, as you see, when we zoom in more, you can see more of the street names. So this is the pan tool. You have the paintbrush tool, which will be the tool where we will start drawing districts. And here you can only draw 7 districts. If you were able to look at the Districtor tool to draw community of interest maps, you could draw 20 districts if you'd like more. But here, because we're drawing specific districts for the city and you have 7 districts, we are only able to draw 7. You can erase any districts that you kind of put in a district or census blocks. And then the inspection tool again will allow you to hover over a specific census block and will give you the total population of that block along with the ethnic breakdown. So we're going to go back And again, this is just an example. I'm not submitting this as a draft map. This is just an example for the public for you to see how the tool works. So we're going to start drawing. So to draw a district, you can either click individually and you can toggle this where you are clicking one by one, or if you want to draw or grab a larger area, you can toggle this blue bar to the right. You'll also see some changes that are happening when we're drawing a district. So here in this square box, we have a couple of numbers of note. So this blue bar will change and adjust as we add census blocks to that district and as we erase. So it will update in real time how many, what's the population of that district. Right now, this blue district is 7,686 people. Based on the 2020 census data, if you were to draw 7 districts of exactly equal population per district, you would have 7 districts with the ideal population of 12,060.43 people. So that is the bar here in the middle. So it will let you know when you get closer or further away from that. The number here that says unassigned population is all of the census blocks that currently are not in a district. So if you are looking to submit a full draft plan to the ARC and the council, you want to try to have that number be as close to 0 as possible. Again, some of these census blocks are really tiny, so you might miss a couple if you are looking to draw a full plan. We also have the max population deviation here at the bottom. And again, the allowable total plan deviation that the ARC will be able to consider for draft maps and a final plan will be that 10%. So if you're looking to submit a plan that's in the allowable total plan deviation, you want that to be 10%. So to click another district and to start drawing a new district, you just click on another color. And you'll see the difference where the district that I've clicked on will be a circle and all the other ones will be squares. So I'm going to keep clicking and we'll see this move and we'll see all the numbers change from the bar that we're on to the unassigned population and deviation. So I'm just going to draw another one so we can see again that information move. If you are really happy with a district that you've drawn, you're like, this is beautiful, I don't want it to change, you want to click on this lock already drawn districts, because now I won't be able to change a district. If I unclick it, then I can take part of a district that I just drew. So that's another button to look at. Additional data layers that you can show on your map if you're really interested. Well, one thing, you can number your districts if that's something that you're interested in. The additional boundaries, and here is, we have the school districts, so we can zoom out, see those. We have the neighborhood association. So for the ARC member who asked that question, it'll be in the data layers tab under boundaries, and you can click it on called neighborhood associations. And we also have, if folks are interested or want to reference it, current district boundaries here as well. So those are the other boundaries of interest that you can click on and off. We also have demographics by race. So it shows you the total population, and that will change and be shaded so we can see all the different populations here. Again, if this is something that you're interested in or I'd like to draw. And we also see the citizen voting age population, which is again the data set we would utilize if we were drawing Voting Rights Act districts. So you can look at this as well. If you want to draw a coalition district, you can click on multiple of the ethnic groups, and then you go back to the show population and click on coalition population. And then you can also look at that by clicking on the coalition citizen voting age population. So this is the,
Sorry
yes.
to interrupt, but I do want to give the opportunity for the vice chair to speak.
Okay, yes, of course. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please stop me. I can't really see everyone
Yeah, you're good.
on my screen. Yes.
Sorry about that, and I hope that this isn't complicating anything, but is there any concern about the fact that the neighborhoods shown by the neighborhood associations are not the same as the neighborhoods that are on the placemats that are available to people who are using the paper versions? Because these are the full neighborhoods, and what we were looking at on the placemat version is apparently subsets of the neighborhoods. I was just wondering if there's any concern about those not being in alignment.
I believe that's a question, not a question for me. So
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going to recognize our city attorney, Veronica.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Committee Member Lathfield. There is no concern with the maps not having the neighborhoods. But remember that neighborhoods are one of the considerations of communities of interest. It's one of many. And so the redistricting partners really looked at how to get information in a digestible form for a placemat that you can't change, right? They can't use the census tracts. They're too small and you can't put the population numbers on them. And so they were trying to find something that was digestible, and so broke out kind of these neighborhood association blocks using the census tracts. So I hope you understand that, you know, there's one way, maybe there would have been another way, but using the neighborhood association themselves, you wouldn't have much room to play if you kept those. And again, the neighborhood associations are one of many communities of interest.
Thank you for that response. Anyone else with questions? Yep. Vice
Sorry,
Chair.
follow up. So I guess my concern is just sort of looking at it from a standpoint of making sure that everybody, regardless of the way that you're using, has access to the same information. Would it be possible on Districtor to have the subsets of neighborhoods the way that they are on the placemats? Because otherwise, if you're using neighborhoods as the basis, you're going to have a very different experience on the Districtor than using the placemats. And I mean, again, I don't know how important that is because neighborhoods are not the primary thing that we're talking about here. But it could be useful if we're going to be following sort of the subsets of the neighborhoods on the placemats if we had access to that same information on Districtor.
So Vice Chair, just to make sure, you're saying we should just be consistent. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Is that something that we can do? I don't know what that question is for Sophia specifically about adding that layer on Districtor, or?
And maybe if I could, Chair, also maybe ask the question in a different way for Mr. Kojikian. Is there any way, I don't know if we've already printed out our placemats, but if we haven't, is there a way for our placemat to on one side have the neighborhood associations in their complete form, and then on the other side have the census tracts so that members of the public could play with creating these districts and understand where the full neighborhood association is, or the neighborhood is, sorry.
Definitely, we could look at doing that if that's what the committee would like us to do.
I see a lot of head nodding. Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
And I didn't mean to, I know, Sophia, there's a question for you in there as well.
No, I think that's might be the suggestion or route that would be updated quicker. Districtor, they have had some staff changes internally, and it's been honestly a little difficult to send them anything to change. So I don't feel confident that we would be able to add in another layer within the quick turnaround that we want to receive maps from the public. So I think the suggestion that Veronica, the attorney, recommended is probably the best solution that we can get a quick turnaround. We can ask Districtor to add the subset layer, but again, right now they haven't been as responsive due to some internal staff changes and the amount of municipalities that are using their site. So
Thank you, Sophia. But it is possible to make the request, and then when it does happen, it happens versus not at all. Okay, perfect. Thank
yes,
you.
yeah, we can put in the request for you definitely, but I again don't feel confident about that. I have a set date that it'll be done next week or tomorrow. So we put in the request, and we'll let you know whenever we add that.
Appreciate that. The chair recognizes committee member Gasparini.
Thank you. Under in the district R mapping system, under boundaries, is it possible to have a click box where if you check the box for points of interest, for example, parks, city parks, that was the other piece of community of interest testimony we heard a lot, where people talked about their community of interest wrapped around a community center, Red Morton Park, Stolstaff Park. Is there a way that if you wanted to sort of see where a park landed in a census block or in a neighborhood, that you might be able to click something to see if perhaps you've created a community of interest or a district wrapped around a community park or a community, city buildings, city community center?
Sophia, sounds like the request is going to be multiple requests to District R.
Yeah, we can again put in that request. We know they have different base maps where you may be able to see more of an aerial view of the map. I remember hearing a lot of things about parks. So we can put in that request, but again, I don't know what the quick turnaround would be for folks. And an option for that could be Member Gasparini, that we've heard that we can uplift that in the testimony, and that's something that you can direct us to focus on when we're looking at draft maps. Again, that might be an alternative that we can utilize right now while we're waiting on Districtor to make that change. So I think I'm kind of just letting you know, I think these are wonderful suggestions, and for a quick turnaround, maybe asking us at redistricting partners or staff if we can come up with a more creative way to handle the requests. But we also have internally the mapping software that we can focus on parks or have those as a point of interest.
Thank you, Sophia. Alex, do you have your hand up to respond to this?
Yeah, so two things. First is on the question about the parks. I know that when you drill down, Sophia, you could see the San Mateo County History Museum. So it does give some points of interest when you really go down.
Is that this way?
So I wonder if it does say parks or anything, because it does give some type of references.
Is there a park I should focus on?
Wesley Crescent. If you go further, is that the furthest you can? Can you go even further?
That's a yeah.
See, there's the high school. So it says high school. So then if you go to the park to the north, it's the circle, Wellesley Crescent.
Is it?
Just keep going.
Is it this one? Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah, it's there. So it does say it. If you scroll in, you can see the parks. It does list their names. And then the second item is, I know we've printed out a lot of maps today. I've already followed up with staff since just right now. If we have the neighborhood association map along with that, is that okay with the committee that we print out, extra files so that someone can refer to it? Okay, I see thumbs up. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate it.
I want to recognize committee member Selk.
My question, I believe, is now moot, because I was going to say, can we overlay the neighborhoods on the one with the sub spots? And the answer is no, because we've made lots and lots of maps already. So I was just imagining those bold lines on top of the one with all the colors, but sounds like that would be not a possibility at this point. So I like the workaround.
Thank you, committee member. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right, seeing none, back to you, Sophia. Thank you.
Okay, these are wonderful questions, and we welcome them. So continuing with the Districtor demo, we've gone through the data layers tab. The final tab is the evaluation tab, which will show you the breakdown of the districts that you've drawn, focusing on the population by race. So you can change those to compare what you want to look at. And all of the ones that are over 50% will be kind of highlighted in dark gray. And then you can also, again, look at that based on the citizen voting age population. And again, this thing will work with your city attorney to look at any potential Voting Rights Act districts. And the members of the public can also look at this data when they're viewing their district map. So you have this breakdown based on the ethnic population. So once you've gone through all of this and you want the ARC to see your map, the absolute best way to submit your map will be to click this save button, and a new window will pop up where automatically it will be clicked on share now. And if you would like to name your map, because we saw a couple of names on that home page, you can click in this bar, name it something that you'd like. And then once you click that share to gallery, it'll automatically be populated to that home page. If you'd like to save it in the section called work in progress, you want to click work in progress. And then now the color will change so that you can save it as a draft. You can also, if you'd like to share it, or maybe you don't want to save it yet, you can copy this unique URL and then send it to someone else. And the way that your kind of tool remembers who you are if you save a map as a work in progress is through your IP address. So if a member of the public is utilizing a library computer, it may be best that if they don't want to submit their map right away and they want to make some changes, to copy that URL and then to open it on another computer if they want to work on it. But that's how because there is no login, because we aren't requiring an email or anything, that's how your computer remembers, oh, you were working in Districtor, now you can open it up again. If you would like to print it out as a PDF, you can do so by clicking this top right button. And if you would like to look at your specific district map in another mapping software, such as an Esri software or Maptitude software, those are additional mapping platforms where you can look at it, add additional data, make additional changes if you'd like. You can download them as shapefiles, GeoJSON, or a CSV. But again, for members of the public who would like their map to be on that homepage, it's best to click on the save button and add it directly, and it will add it directly to the gallery. And again, I'll just go back to remind folks what your homepage looks like. And again, this is the area where all of those maps will be saved in this public gallery. And again, I see some new ones, so we'll take those down for folks so you can review those. But again, this is open to the public. Anyone from the public can view your maps and look at them. So that's the Districtor demo. Are there additional questions?
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
So just as a reminder for the committee and for the public, there are specific, and Sophia was talking about the Fair Maps Act, the new state laws, there are limitations of how long these maps need to be published before the governing bodies can go ahead and discuss them. And so we have a deadline. If you want your map considered by the Advisory Redistricting Committee, this body, to get those in by Monday, October 25th. This will allow time for the demographer to review, especially the paper ones, to put it into Maptitude and get those all ready for a packet because they have to be published on our website 7 days in advance. So this is a critical period. You know, anyone who's on this call today or in this meeting, welcome to submit a map for consideration by this body on November 3rd. You just got to get it in by Monday, the 25th.
Thank you, Alex, for that. Are there any questions from the staff or members of this committee? All right, well, seeing none, I want to say thank you again to Sophia for presenting a lot of information today. We really appreciate you taking the time. And also, we're grateful for the team, such a quick turnaround in getting that Census 2020 information and being able to present it today. I also want to remind the public that on November 3rd, we're having our next meeting. It is the second meeting of the third phase that we're in now, which is the map drawing phase and map drafting and ARC recommendation phase, excuse me. And I just want to encourage folks to participate in the following meeting happening on November 3rd. And if you want more information, I also invite you to visit the redistricting page on the city's website, redwoodcity.org/redistricting. Again, that's redwoodcity.org/redistricting. If you have any questions or comments for city staff, please direct them to districtelections@redwoodcity.org. Again, that's districtelections@redwoodcity.org. I want to thank the entire committee for being here and for partaking over the last month and a half in all the community workshops and being present and active in recruiting the community to partake in this process. So thanks everyone. And with that, I bid you all a good night and this meeting is adjourned. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.